Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, if you're new, and welcome back if you aren't. I'm EDJ, and I'm continuing with Napoleon Egypt. Before I get into it, you guys notice I have a new setup. I upgraded my editing software, my screen recording software, and you might notice that the audio is different. I bought a new microphone, so check this out. So yeah, I wasn't pleased because the microphone I was using for from the Byzantine Dovahati series onto the last video of the Battle of Rivoli, it was a long gooseneck microphone, and the audio just was never good. And, I was a little. I know some of you were saying that it hurt, so I bought this new microphone, and I'm hoping that this is more pleasant to the ears. Anyone who uses headphones or earbuds, let me know if it sounds good. Give me a thumbs up, say, alright, awesome, I can listen to you now, But, okay, but let's get back to Napoleon, the real subject of this video. So this campaign, I guess you can call it, in Egypt, takes place after Italy. It's his second big campaign, and I believe in between Napoleon was, arrested because he was associated with the Jacobins, I'm pretty sure. He was associated with the Jacobins, and so he was arrested, but he luckily got out, and he was sent to Egypt for two reasons. The first, and the one, the first and I guess the most important is he was sent there to undermine, I believe, British control and trade. So, that's what the French sent him there to do. And, next, the second reason is because Napoleon, the politicians at the time, I believe it was the Directory that took control around this time. They were a little bit afraid of Napoleon. They were like, this guy is a military genius. He's beyond charismatic and well loved by the army and, the people of France. And he has a great mind for politics. He literally discussed and negotiated with Austria on behalf of France without anyone telling him to. Let's get him away, So that's kind of the main reason. Oh man, let me wear my glasses. Yeah, this is no, I think. Never mind. I can see just fine. It's just I use this light so my face isn't all dark. But I guess after a while, eh. But point is, where's wait a second. Okay, it got scattered brain. But point is, during this campaign wasn't considered a success for the French. I think Napoleon just kind of leaves abruptly as well. I'm thinking of the oversimplified video where they're like, hey Napoleon, you're not gonna leave us, are you? He's like, of course not. Then he does a flip onto a boat and escapes. But I know he leaves abruptly. So overall, I also know that during this time, Napoleon, I believe, with a bunch of educated Frenchmen, basically go around studying Egypt, visiting all the monuments, writing down what they encounter, and I believe they find the Rosetta Stone. And I believe Napoleon used this to his advantage, kind of creating a good PR image of him going around like he's Alexander the Great, and just overall, yeah, creating more, I guess you can call it propaganda to make himself look good. So, yeah, that's kind of all the background I know, guys. I won't keep you waiting anymore. Wait, but first, if you want to watch this video without me here or pausing or commenting all the time, look down in the description down below. The link will be there to this video, to Epic History TV. And without any further ado, let's just do this, guys. Let's watch Napoleon in Egypt, Part 1.
French invasion force sails across the Mediterranean. 55,000 men, aboard more than 300 ships, escorted by 13 ships of the line. Aboard the most powerful of these, the 120-gun L'Orient, sails General Napoleon Bonaparte. France's celebrated hero of the war in Italy has received new orders from his government. He is to lead an expeditionary force east, to Egypt, the wealthiest province of the Ottoman Empire. And to all educated Europeans, an ancient land of mystery and wonder.
The thing is about Egypt is that one of the earliest things I learned is that there were a group of civilizations, the first civilizations that rose in human history and stuck around. Egypt is one of them. Egypt and China are the two first, like, earliest civilizations that are still active to this day. So, I know that. And Egypt is just, like, a really rich history, if you ask me. You know, like, even if you know, the Bible, like, I go to, you know, Bible college, like, Egypt is very prominent as, like, the first superpower of the world. I think that was due to, you know, their positioning near the Nile. And yeah, they were the first superpower, first, I guess you could call, like, great empire. And, you know, and even throughout other subsequent empires that came after, you know, like the Persians, the Greeks through Alexander, and the Romans, and Julius Caesar and Cleopatra and Mark Antony's whole debacle. Egypt is just like culturally and like historically rich. You know, it's rich AF. I don't curse. That's probably the closest to cursing you'll ever hear me, guys.
After 6 years of war in Europe, the French Republic faces one last remaining enemy: Great Britain.
Britain and France fighting, what else is new, right? Like, these guys are like some of the greatest this might be the greatest, like, rivalry between nations that has just ever existed, if you ask me. Like, these guys have fought each other forever, and it's just, there's so much history between Britain and France. And what I find interesting is that during this period, I feel safe in saying that France had the best army of just the world. Like, on land, I believe France could beat almost anybody, and but Britannia rules the waves, so in a way kept them from traditionally fighting all the time, so they always had to find new ways to usurp one another. And, you know, like what I said, I believe this whole Egypt expedition was to just undermine British power, and Britain did so much during the reign of Napoleon to spite him, funding coalitions, refusing peace. You know, overall, it's just like, they don't fight each other all the time traditionally, so they found unique ways to mess with each other. And, you know, I would liken Britain to like a whale or a shark, and like France to like a lion. Like, on their own natural habitats, very powerful, but, you know, yeah, you know.
The conquest of Egypt will strike a powerful blow against the British, disrupting their trade in the eastern Mediterranean and threatening their connections to India and the East. These profitable trade networks help fuel the British war effort. What's more, it will extend France's revolutionary, civilizing mission to the people of Egypt, liberating them from superstition and feudalism. France's corrupt and avaricious government, the Directory, sees two further benefits from the campaign: the opportunity to acquire tremendous riches, and to get the alarmingly popular and ambitious General Bonaparte far away from Paris, where plots and coups are never far from anyone's mind. Napoleon is thrilled by the expedition, which he has done much to promote and organize himself. It is a chance to win fresh glory and to walk in the footsteps of his heroes, Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great.
I said this when we were watching the Alexander the Great series on Epic History TV. He is the goat of all conquerors. Like, you know, the story of Scipio and Hannibal Barca discussing the best generals, them both agreeing Hannibal's number one. I mean, not Hannibal, Alexander the Great is number one. You know, Julius Caesar, the story that he wept when he was around the same age as Alexander because he felt he had accomplished little in comparison to Alex. And now even Napoleon, like, admired him. Like, you know, you have these men either wanting to emulate you, you know, or have tremendous admiration and respect to study you. Just like, how much goated do you need to be, right? Like, no debate, man.
Like Alexander, Napoleon even has fanciful notions of marching on to India, to attack the British there. Europe is a molehill, he had told his secretary, Bourrienne. We must set off for the Orient. That is where all the greatest glory has been achieved.
The East, man, just very rich.
But the Mediterranean is dangerous water for the French. While the Republic's armies have won great victories on land, Britain has cemented its status as the dominant naval power of the age, with decisive victories over French allies, the Spanish at Cape St. Vincent and the Dutch at Camperdown. Rear Admiral Sir Horatio Nelson and his squadron of 14 ships of the line now prowl the Mediterranean.
This Nelson dude, huh?
Nelson knows a large French fleet has just left Toulon, but does not know its destination, which remains a closely guarded secret. Undetected, the French expedition sails south along the Italian coast. On the 9th of June, it arrives off Malta. The island is ruled by the Knights of St. John, a religious military order dating back to the Crusades. But the French have decided that they want it for a naval base, and a thorn in the side of the British. In 1565, the Knights had famously held out against a vast Ottoman army for 3 months. Now, despised by the locals, divided amongst themselves, the Knights surrender to Napoleon in just 2 days. During his 6 days in Malta, Napoleon overhauls its archaic government, establishes schools, abolishes slavery, and requisitions money and supplies.
He can't help himself, can he? Like, Napoleon, wherever he goes, instituted a lot of, like, reforms and change, like, legally, you know, socially, just... He was very non-stop, to say the least. Yeah, overall, I think this is just really telling of his, like... again, I apologize for all the cuts. My grandpa was calling me. I needed the help. If you notice all the cuts all of a sudden. But, yeah, Napoleon just... He had a mind for politics and governing and reformation, like, reforming and instituting things. Like, you know, I really think as the older I've gotten, I've appreciated his political mind much more than his military mind. Don't get me wrong. Undisputed best general of all time, but you could argue, but like statistically probably the best general of all time. And you know, but I just think underrated aspect is that the man could like govern and rule and just play the game of politics better than a lot of people. I think it was just the fact that the rest of Europe would never be cool with him and constantly declare war on him is, you know, boggled him down a lot. Because he, like, put stuff like the Napoleonic Law, he made changes that are, you know, still used to this day. Like, Napoleon changed the world, I think, in so many ways. Like, he is one of the most important men to have ever lived.
Then he sails for Egypt, leaving General Vaubois and a 5,000-strong garrison to hold the island. But where is the Royal Navy?
Good question.
Back in May, Nelson's squadron had been dispersed by gales. He has now regrouped, correctly guessed Napoleon's destination, and is racing to intercept. If he can catch the French, British seamanship and gunnery all but guarantee the destruction of Napoleon's fleet.
Holy crap, he is moving quick, dude.
Then, a lucky break for the French.
Do you see how fast he went? Oh my gosh, he's like, we gotta catch Napoleon, guys. We need to murder him, you know.
On the night of the 22nd, Nelson's squadron passes within a few miles of the French fleet. But thanks to heavy fog and darkness, neither side is even aware of the other's presence.
Dang, talk about luck.
The British squadron sails on to Alexandria, where they find no sign of the French. An exasperated Nelson waits 24 hours before heading north to continue his search. Just hours later, the first of Napoleon's ships arrive off Alexandria.
Dude, Napoleon had luck on his side. Like, other than just his genius, other than his, like, you know, military and, you know, genius and all the capable people who worked with him and under him, sometimes the greatest, like, generals just need luck. And Napoleon had a lot of luck, I think, in his life. Like, if the British had actually caught him here, there's a, well, no, I almost guarantee they would have lost, because the British, they own the sea practically. That could have resulted in Napoleon's death or capture, you know. And even if he did somehow get away, it's like, what, like on a raft or something? Like, man, that is a close call. They literally dodged a bullet twice, practically. And literally.
Want to protect a woman's right to choose? Gil Cisneros earned a 100% from Planned Parenthood, fought to protect choice and contraception. For President Biden, Gil worked to stop sexual assault in the military. Gil Cisneros, the right choice for Congress.
We don't talk about politics on this channel, by the way. Yeah, we don't talk about politics on this channel. Unless we're looking in, you know, like, Napoleonic era, and we're talking about the politics he's doing. But modern politics, we keep out of here, guys. Don't worry, I won't ever get political on you guys. At least, you know, unless we're just looking at Napoleon's reforms. Destiny is for us all.
Napoleon, aware that British warships are in the area, wants to disembark as quickly as possible.
Yeah, good call.
5,000 French infantry go ashore at night,
I'm gonna start doing my
storm Alexandria the next morning, and quickly overpower its garrison. The rest of the French army lands safely. Napoleon has brought 38,000 troops to Egypt, mostly veterans of the Army of Italy. The 5 infantry divisions are commanded by Generals Bon, Desaix, Kleber, Menou, and Renier. The single cavalry division is led by the towering figure of Thomas Alexandre Dumas. He is France's first black general, born in what's now Haiti, to a French aristocrat and enslaved African woman. He has already won fame for his actions in Italy, where the Austrians had nicknamed him the Black Devil.
Nice. I don't know more about this dude. What's his story?
There are more familiar faces from Italy. Napoleon's chief of staff, the indefatigable General Berthier. And brigade commanders Generals Murat, Lannes, and Marmont.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at General Lannes. I just keep thinking, he looks like if, like, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and, like, Alexander Hamilton, like somehow had a baby. He just looks like a combination of all three of them. I don't know why, in my opinion.
The army is also accompanied by 167 scientists, scholars, artists, and assorted experts, even a hot air balloonist. Collectively, they are known as the Savants, and have come to study Egypt's historical and natural wonders.
I was correct about this.
But they and Napoleon find Alexandria a bitter disappointment. The fabled city of antiquity, founded by Alexander himself, has been reduced by centuries of earthquakes and neglect to a ramshackle town of 6.
Yeah, that looks disappointing, huh? But yeah, I think... Wasn't there a great library in Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, and didn't that get destroyed? And a lot of people are like, oh man, all the untold knowledge I was there, you know? I think I'm talking about the right place. I'm gonna stop because I'm not sure.
6,000 inhabitants. Egypt is nominally ruled by the Ottoman Empire. In
Yes,
reality,
the Ottomans.
power lies with local Mamluk warlords. Two in particular, Murad Bey and Ibrahim Bey.
Okay, warlords. I guess they're technically in charge of Egypt. It's technically Ottoman Empire territory, but it seems like these guys are the ones running the show. Warlords, huh? This guy looks like Santa Claus, like a Middle Eastern Santa Claus. Commander of the Haji Governor. Okay. I'm gonna call them the Bey brothers. They probably aren't even brothers, who knows. But either way, I'm gonna call them the Bey brothers because I like it. I am going to assume that they are going to beef with Napoleon being in Egypt. Because I've never heard of warlords being diplomatic.
Mamluks were originally slave soldiers who once served the Islamic Caliphate.
Malmuks, huh?
Superb horsemen and fearless warriors, they now rule Egypt with an iron fist, expropriating its wealth and leaving its peasants in poverty.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, I know the term Malmuks because I play this game called Mount and Blade Warband, and the premise of the game, it's a medieval open sandbox simulator, and the premise is you are on a continent that has 6 kingdoms, and each kingdom is fighting against each other to become the one sole kingdom of the entire continent. And you know, each of the 6 kingdoms are based on, like, you know, real life historical, you know, kingdoms and empires. Like there's one kingdom called the Sassanids, and they're located in the desert regions of the map, and they're essentially a combination of, like, you know, Middle Eastern, you know, like soldiers throughout history, and one of their troop trees are called the Malmuks, and they're a cavalry only, you know, unit, and you know, but except in the game they're heavily armored. Their horses are armored and they're armored. So, you know, that's the only way I recognize the term Malmuks.
To most Egyptians, they are despised foreign overlords, a situation that Napoleon hopes to exploit with clever propaganda. To the people of Egypt, he proclaims, "I am come to restore your rights and punish usurpers. I reverence God, his prophet, and the Quran."
Genius. So, the thing about Napoleon is that he used religion very practically and pragmatically, I would say. And what I mean by that is that I keep thinking about when he brought back the Catholic Church. He had a quote saying that, like, you know, religion was a tool to keep the poor from eating the rich. And, you know, he basically did it a curry favor with whoever he wanted to. I don't know about Napoleon and his personal beliefs, if he was Catholic or, you know, if he personally prayed and read the Bible and actually practiced faith, or was just in faith by name. I don't know, but I'm willing to venture he probably wasn't all that religious actually, and I also am willing to venture he didn't actually, you know, practice the Islamic faith, but he definitely used it and respected it, you know, whatever religion he needed to win favor over, and he's come here in an image of a liberator, not a conqueror, which I think is the smartest way he could have approached the situation. You know, no one likes the warlords. Hey, we'll get rid of them for you, or at least we look like the better option, right? So, yeah, a good tactic Napoleon used overall.
Meanwhile, Murad and Ibrahim summon Mamluk warlords to the Al-Azhar Mosque in Cairo. Here, they agree to gather an army to crush the invaders. Napoleon believes his best option is to strike quickly. Less than a day after his troops finish landing, he begins his advance on Cairo. But he misjudges the blistering climate and the barren, windswept landscape.
Yeesh. Oh no, the desert.
He forces the pace, even after his men run out of water and are consumed by thirst.
Oh my gosh, no.
Hundreds collapse and die. A few kill themselves to escape the suffering.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so, okay, that's bad. I live in Cali. It gets really hot in here. I think the hottest it ever got, it must have been 110 or over, but it got really hot here one summer. And, like, I couldn't leave my room. I was sequestered here with the air conditioning on. And I just, anytime I left my room, like, the heat would just hit you, like, ugh, and I just kind of melt, I feel. And that's just, like, in the United States. I can't imagine going to the Middle East. And look at these guys, they're, like, dressed from head to toe in the, you know, the military uniform, and, oh, that's torture. That's torture. Napoleon is really, you know, emulated Alexander the Great by making his troops march through all this. Poor Alexander the Great soldiers, man. He made them go freaking everywhere practically. Like, he forced their butts to march. Like, no wonder they kind of wanted to mutiny. Hopefully Napoleon doesn't face a mutiny on his own because of this.
Bedouin horsemen circle the French like vultures. Stragglers that fall into their hands are robbed, tortured, and killed.
Oh, that's awful.
Even old comrades like Lannes and Murat are involved in heated conversations about Napoleon's decision-making. The army takes 4 days to cover the 45 miles to Damanhur, where, mercifully, they are able to rest, drink, and trade for food. It's not a moment too soon. News arrives that a large force of Mamluks under Murad Bey is approaching from the southeast.
Okay, so the warlords, you know, the Bey brothers are like, we're gonna fight these guys. They're going in, they're being really aggressive, but they're warlords, and the thing is that, like I said earlier, I believe France is the best military on the world at this point. And, you know, they're European, which is a completely different area from the Middle East. So I don't know how the Mamluks and the warlords, I'm guessing just by the name Mamluks, the main source of their armies are cavalry. That's the main bulk of their army. A complete guess on my end that I'm using from the video game I played, but, you know, I don't know how like Middle Eastern conflict like we know how European conflict is. Very tactical, very sophisticated, very advanced, a lot of tactics, a lot of, you know, strategy, a lot of formation and discipline. We witnessed that a lot in the Italian campaign. But, you know, the Middle East is not Europe, and, you know, I don't know, I'm completely ignorant of how they fought in the Middle East, especially, you know, these warlords. So hopefully, so someone's gonna be in for a rude awakening. Either, you know, the European French army is gonna be caught off guard, but how they fight either differently, or the, you know, the warlords, the Middle Eastern warlords are gonna get a taste of, you know, the more sophisticated modern army of Europe and get decimated. Those are the only, like, two options I see happening. And so, you know, I'm putting my money more on Napoleon because, like I said, I'm ignorant. But yeah, the Mamluks, the Bey brothers, are gonna have to use strategy. And like I said, I don't know if they've ever fought a European army. Like, I don't know if they are aware of how the European armies fight. You know, I don't know if they have any experience. I'm ignorant about the Middle East and the Bey brothers, but they're gonna need a lot if they're gonna fight Napoleon, you know? They're gonna need to really think and strategize in order to get the better of the French.
The French advance to meet them at Shubrachit, on the banks
Guess
of
we're
the
about to
Nile.
find out.
As 4,000 Mamluk horsemen come into view, the French marvel at their brightly coloured outfits, embellished with gold and jewels, and their many ornate weapons.
You know, I'll give it to the like warlords and the Malmuks. They have the best drip I've ever seen from like warriors and soldiers. Like, look at this. They're like in the war of fashion. We've already defeated the French. We're gonna kill you, and we're gonna look good doing it. You know, like if I had to be a soldier in any time of period, probably be here, only because they got the drip of war, man. You know, they look good.
Including pistols, swords, daggers and lances. Murad boasts that he will sever Frenchmen's heads like slicing watermelons in a field.
He's been overly confident, that's the thing. I think overconfidence is an undoing of many people. And, you know, this Bay brother, who I'm gonna call Santa Claus, no, I'm joking, I'm not gonna disrespect him. Murad Bey is, I don't know if he has any experience. I don't know if the warlords fight, how the warlords fight, how they fought against each other, but like I said, he's gonna need a lot of tactics and strategy, because Napoleon has proven himself, and the French have proven themselves as arguably the best army, so I don't know, like I said, someone's gonna be caught off guard. Either the French are gonna be like, they don't fight how we're used to, or Murad and the Bay brothers are just gonna be like, oh my gosh, these guys are too advanced for us. We're not used to fighting like this. We're about to find out, right?
But for all their bravado and panache, the Mamluks have neither the discipline nor tactics to face a trained modern army.
Okay, I think my question has been answered. I was trying to play it safe and be nice. I didn't want to be like... But I'm guessing the warlords haven't encountered a beast like France.
When Napoleon forms his troops into giant squares, the Mamluk cavalry can only circle impotently, unable to break through the walls of French bayonets.
I know about the square formation. I believe the Duke of Wellington used it effectively against Napoleon and his cavalry, and I think the idea, or someone used it against Napoleon, that's how I know about it, and that did a real number on Napoleon. But yeah, the idea is that a horse is smart enough not to charge into a line of men, especially holding guns and, you know, bayonets. So instead, the horses, instead of going straight in, will circle around, like, you know, or square around, you know, the square formation, and then they'll just be picked off by the sides. Either the horse will be shot, or the rider shot off the horse and the side. It's like the most effective thing. Like, cavalry is OP, guys. If used correctly, cavalry is OP, but the square formation essentially rendered the advantages of cavalry kind of like weak or pointless. So yeah, and if my guess is true that the Malmuks the main bulk of their army is just cavalry, then they're just gonna be decimated.
Scores are shot from the saddle. After 2 hours, the Mamluks call off their attack and retreat.
Only 2 hours.
They have suffered around 1,000 casualties.
Oh my gosh.
The French have scarcely lost a man.
Do you see that? Guys, that wasn't a battle. That was a slaughter, my friends. Like, okay, I'm guessing they haven't encountered European armies, at least not to the caliber of the French, because this is a rude awakening. This performance shows that the warlords were not ready for a modern army. And it just seems like their strategy was just to charge. Epic History TV didn't go over the enemy's tactics or plans. Like, you know, with the... I'll save that for later. The point is, like, yeah, if their plan was just to charge, then yes, Napoleon has shown that that's not gonna work. And so I won't diss on the Bay Brothers too much. You know, this was a little taste of the French, and I think they're going to have to regroup. They're gonna have to be like, okay, we're gonna have to do things different. We're gonna have to strategize and use tactics. You know, so I won't diss on them. If there is a round two, we'll see if they learn from this, and they ought to, because this is, I think the desert killed more French than the actual Malmuks. Oh man.
The victory is a much-needed morale boost for Napoleon's men after the hardships of the desert. The Mamluks fall back to Mbaba, a small town on the banks of the Nile, across the river from Cairo. Here, within sight of Egypt's fabled pyramids 9 miles to the south, they will face the invader with their full force.
The full force now. Okay, round two, guys. Let's see if they've learned.
On the sweltering afternoon of the 21st of July, Napoleon's forces approach Mbaba. He has 25,000 men, organized into 5 giant divisional squares, with cavalry and baggage inside, and cannon at every corner. Murad, with characteristic boldness, has crossed to the west bank of the Nile, leaving Ibrahim behind. Their forces total...
I don't know if that's a good idea. I think they ought to be all together, but still, it seems like Murad has the main army, so I don't know.
Many thousands, but sources disagree wildly on just how many. His elite Mamluk cavalry, 6,000 strong, are deployed between the small village of Biktil and the well-fortified town of Mbaba.
Okay, so I think I was correct. Yeah, the main bulk of their army seems to be just cavalry. Not to say they didn't have infantry, obviously, but it just seems like the majority is cavalry.
Which is garrisoned by a mix of Ottoman infantry and peasant militia. Napoleon's plan is simple: to drive through the enemy centre and crush their right flank against the river.
So, hey guys, I just want to let you all know, I don't want to come across like I know better. You know, I'm speaking through a 21st century perspective, right? We have hindsight, we've been gifted with hindsight, and this awesome aerial view that they obviously didn't have. I just don't want to come across like I'm an armchair general, or that I think I would have done better. I wouldn't have, guys. I would have probably done even, like, worse than the Bay Brothers did in the first encounter with Napoleon. You know, like, yeah, I just want to say, I do love studying tactics, the exploits of Alexander the Great, Hannibal Barca, Julius Caesar, but I by no means think I could do better than any one of those guys' eras, them especially, but anyone there. I study this stuff, but I don't think I could actually lead an army and be great in battle, you know? So I don't want to I just don't want to come across like that, you know? And that I would do better than these guys. Like, I wouldn't, you know? I'm just speaking through a 21st century perspective, you know, a very amateur one at that. I'm not a historian, and, you know, just kind of the benefit of hindsight and the aerial view. And, you know, I praised the Austrians a lot. Wait, I'll get to that later. Point is, Napoleon's idea, I think, is perfect. With all that said, I think Napoleon realizes, okay, they seem to have a lot of cavalry. We're gonna use what works best. We're gonna use what we did in the first battle, which is simply the square formation, man. Like, Napoleon's like, that's the best you could do. And like, he's using what works, and I just think his plan of just going forward with that, perfect. I no complaints there. But I will have to talk a little ill about the Bay brothers. Please forgive me. But you know, when we were looking at Austria in the Italian campaign, I often praise the Austrians' thinking. You know, I'm like, sure, their plans didn't work, and the biggest critique was you kept separating your large army, but which helped Napoleon actually out. But overall, every time Epic History TV explained what the Austrians were thinking, I was like, I agree. I understand where the Austrians are coming from. You know, trying to put myself in their shoes. Overall, no critiques. But here with the Bays, you know, these warlord brothers, question mark about brothers, but they seem to not have the tactics or the discipline, as he said. Again, he may explain their idea right now, but so far, if they're just gonna charge again like they did the first time, then I think they severely underestimated Napoleon and were not ready, because that would be an awful tactic to use right now. Like, I hope they learned from the first battle. I put air quotes on battle because it really wasn't, it was more of a slaughter, but I hope they learned and they'll try something new, because if they just charge, they are screwed.
At 3:30 p.m, Desaix and Renier's divisions begin their advance. But as they move across the broken ground, their formation becomes disordered. Murad spots his chance and unleashes his cavalry. The Mamluks thunder forward at lightning speed. Desaix and Renier react just in time and close ranks. The French hold their fire until the last moment, then unleash a devastating volley. Horses and riders are sent tumbling. The survivors have no way to get to grips with the enemy, who continue pouring deadly fire into their midst. The Mamluks wheel back to regroup, but more charges meet the same result.
Okay, I was trying to be nice. Like I said, I don't want to come across like I'm some armchair general. I'm trying to understand. They probably didn't... The Bay brothers probably didn't have enough time to come up with tactics after the first encounter. But... And I know Cairo is really important. Maybe... I'm trying to be objective. I don't want to just, you know... I don't want to just talk bad about the Bay brothers. They probably didn't have the time. I know Cairo is really important to Egypt, so they had no choice. They couldn't just completely relieve, so... But still, man, this plan, like, they should have known about the square formation, like... You're just getting your troops killed, like... I'm sorry, I apologize, guys, but... Not an impressive showing from the Bay brothers. These warlords were not ready for a modern army.
Many Mamluks simply give up and flee the field. Napoleon orders the divisions of Bon and Vial to move forward. Once more, the Mamluk cavalry charge.
They're just gonna charge again.
Once more, the wave of horsemen shatters on French musketry and bayonets.
Oh my gosh.
With the enemy cavalry broken.
Yeah, Napoleon's got this. They were not ready. I'm sorry, the Bay brothers were not ready for Napoleon. Oh man.
Bon and Vival's men pour into Mbaba. It is a slaughter. Those who are not killed flee into the Nile, where hundreds drown. Murad Bey escapes with the remnants of his cavalry to Giza, from where he will withdraw to southern Egypt. Ibrahim Bey watches the calamity unfold across the river, then withdraws with his men back to Cairo. It is a crushing, one-sided victory that takes just 2 hours. the Mamluks suffer more than 5,000 casualties,
Oh my
with
gosh.
heavy losses among their elite cavalry and leadership.
That sucks.
French losses are less than 300.
Guys, come on, let me don't be mad at me, but let me just say they were not ready. Just to put it in a friendly way. Like, what, the first battle they only killed like what, 20? Here they couldn't even kill 30. They only got 9 more from... Oh my gosh. The Bay brothers were humbled. They must have been. If there even is a round 3, they need to do something different. They need to adapt with, you know, strategy and tactics, because it just seems like they just charged in, and I guess that's how they must have done conflict. That must have been the battle strategy that they were used to. You know, the warlords is just going in and fighting, but yeah, that's not gonna work with the French, man. That's not gonna work with a modern army. Yo, that's not a battle. That's a slaughter. Like I said it again, that's a slaughter. Napoleon... Oh my gosh. Napoleon... He must have been like, dang, this is too easy. What the heck? You know?
Napoleon, with his usual flair for PR, decides this great victory will be known as the Battle of the Pyramids, just in sight to the south. On the 24th of July, Napoleon enters Cairo. Parts of the city are abandoned and in ashes after being torched by the Mamluks in their frantic withdrawal. Napoleon observes it would be difficult to find a richer land and a more wretched, ignorant and brutish people.
Dang, Napoleon, chill.
Nonetheless, Cairo is the heart of Egypt, a city of 600,000 inhabitants, and is in French hands. With the Mamluks scattered and on the run, Napoleon's dream of eastern conquest seems about to be realized.
I'm surprised this campaign is not considered a great success, because everywhere I've heard, or when researching this, I just know Napoleon left early, abruptly, and that it was not considered that big of a success, which I'm wondering why. Look at them, they're just complete... The de facto powers of Egypt were these two, you know, the Bay brothers, and they just completely wrecked them. Like, who else is gonna challenge them? Like, you know, they basically, it seems like they've won already. Like,
just 8 days later, the dream is shattered.
Let me help you with that. I'm good, man, thanks.
What's about to happen?
Everyone can use a little.
Oh yeah! Dude, I forgot about Nelson. The British... Oh my gosh, I legitimately forgot about that. I was too busy marveling at Napoleon slaughtering these warlords that I forgot about the British being around. Oh dang. Oh dang, yeah, this doesn't look good.
At sea, Nelson and the British Mediterranean Squadron have not given up their hunt for the French fleet. Finally, on the afternoon of the 1st of August, Nelson finds the French sheltering in Aboukir Bay. With 14 ships of the line against 13, he decides to attack that evening. The British win a complete and stunning victory. The giant French flagship L'Orient is destroyed in a massive explosion.
That's insane.
By the time it's over, the British have destroyed or captured 11 French ships of the line and taken more than 3,000 prisoners. With no fleet,
slaughter.
Napoleon is stranded in Egypt. What's more, most of his army's cash has gone down with L'Orient. But Napoleon does not despair. If anything, he is invigorated by the crisis. His options are now simple: He and his army must support themselves in this foreign land, or perish.
So, yeah, he's like, awesome, I get to roleplay as Alexander the Great now. No, I'm joking, but, man, okay. I'm starting to see that Napoleon, I'm guessing he's not gonna be getting supplies and reinforcements, and any, equipment he had has been thrown out with the rest of the ships going down. So now he has to fight the elements, which seem to be the biggest issue he's had, after the British, of course. The biggest issue he's had is the elements, so he's got to learn how to adapt his army to the desert, lands. So that seems like, okay, that seems like the big issue now.
While General Desaix is sent south in pursuit of Murad Bey, Napoleon sets about reforming the administration of Egypt.
He can't help himself. He's like, well, since I'm here, let me reform your entire government if you guys don't mind.
The old feudal system is abolished. A postal service and hospitals are set up, and a new tax system introduced. Napoleon establishes the Institute of Egypt for scientific and scholarly research. He shows great interest in and respect for Islam, funding the construction of mosques and encouraging the observance of religious festivals. Such engagement later leads to rumors that Napoleon actually converted to Islam.
Nah.
But it is
no
merely a tactic to curry local favor.
Exactly.
Napoleon also grapples with news that his wife, Josephine, has resumed her affair with an ex-lover. It is, he's told, common knowledge amongst Paris society.
Dude, she's for the streets, man. Anytime that Josephine gets mentioned, like in the Italy video where she was almost captured or something, like, it's just the funniest thing ever. So here Napoleon is, stranded now, and now he hears, hey, your wife's cheating on you, like, oh my gosh, she's for the streets, man. I know eventually, I think later on, the both of them ended up really loving each other and, like, getting along. But you would have never guessed with their early relationship, right? They seem super, like, oh my gosh, like a mess, like a hot mess. But they're oddly one of the weirdest, but, like, most enduring couples,
He consoles himself with affairs of his own, including one with an officer's wife.
Wait a minute. Okay, there's this interesting video on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing it. It's called Napoleon's Cleopatra. And yeah, Napoleon took an officer's wife, slept with her. I think that ended up with the both of them divorcing. But, so Napoleon's a homewrecker. But point is, and the woman went on to become like an author, I think, or really successful. And she died in a house full of monkeys. I think she may or may not have owned. Either way, a really interesting life. And yeah, I've been praising Napoleon non-stop, but I think this is the first time I'm gonna have to critique him. Breaking the bro code, man. It's taking another dude's wife. That's against the bro code, dude. A little shame on you there, Napoleon. Though I understand him avenging himself after his wife cheated on him. That's cool, but man, an officer's wife. Someone will probably comment, well, it's cool because they didn't love each other and the officer was a jerk, or probably something like that. Either way, it's still against the bro code.
All the while, French efforts to win over the local population are failing. Most Egyptians see only foreign occupiers and infidels. The situation is already at boiling point. Minor revolts break out across the Nile Delta, which are brutally suppressed by the French.
Okay, I'm starting to see things starting to go from bad to worse. Okay, yeah, Napoleon's strategy, I guess, of trying to come off as a liberator has just backfired, and now they just see him as a conqueror. Though he put his best foot forward. You have to give Napoleon respect. He tried. He really tried.
Then in September, from Constantinople, Sultan Selim III declares a holy war against the French.
Okay, yeah, okay. He's stranded. The British have gotten rid of his, like, you know, navy for the most part. They're against the elements. The people are not accepting them. I guess the warlords are still around. And now the Ottoman Empire has declared a holy war. A regular war is bad enough, guys. You'll meet a lot of people fighting for patriotism. I can't say the word. Point, you know what I mean. You know, they'll fight on behalf of their nation, and that is a good motivator for a lot of people. But something about a holy war, like, it creates like a fervor, like a religious zeal and zealousness that you can only find in a religious fanatic, that just makes them willing to not only fight you, but gladly, like, give their life, because now you brought in God into the mix, right? You brought in the afterlife, and a lot of people are like, well, you know, I don't mind dying because I'll be in, you know, heaven or whatnot, you know, or I'll do this and gain favor with, you know, the deity, right? And it's almost harder to negotiate with a religious zealot, or like when things become religious, it's almost like negotiation is not possible, because then it's like, oh my gosh, I think this is awful. I think this is, things are going worse, even worse than the situation in Italy somehow.
Now, the situation in Egypt is about to explode.
Over 10,000 people have died in Gaza already, with Israeli drone strikes and
Cairo, the 21st of October, 1798. General Dupuy, Cairo's military governor, is called out to break up a disturbance. He finds the locals erecting barricades, is set upon and killed.
Oh my gosh.
Soon the whole city is up in arms. The French fight back with ruthless discipline and crush the revolt. Some 300 French soldiers are killed, alongside several thousand Egyptians. Napoleon ostentatiously pardons the ringleaders, while quietly telling Berthier that every rioter caught with a weapon is to be beheaded and thrown into the Nile. The French have bloodily reasserted control in Cairo. But it is clear, Napoleon will never win the hearts and minds of the Egyptians.
He tried, though. He really tried.
The next few months see the French languish in Cairo. There is limited communication with France, much homesickness, and a dwindling supply of stores, ammunition, and wine. There is also an outbreak of bubonic plague, which torments the army and further thins its ranks.
As if it couldn't get any worse, right? Now a literal plague. Dude, literally everything has turned. I was like, man, why is this considered like not so smooth of a campaign? Now I'm like, okay. Makes a lot of sense now.
The only action is in the south, where General Desaix's column, 2,800 men, pursue Murad Bey deep into Upper Egypt. In this epic chase, one officer distinguishes himself. A 28-year-old cavalry brigadier named Louis-Nicolas Davout. On the 22nd of January 1799, he and Desaix inflict a serious defeat on Murad Bey, scattering his remaining forces. Murad himself escapes and remains at large.
Okay, so he'll still be an issue, but one that they seem to be easily dealing with. again, I don't know, this campaign, maybe the Bay brothers will come back with a vengeance and actually inflict a lot of damage. Like, you know, I won't count them out yet. I'm just saying, for this video in particular, not impressed. Not impressed. But who knows, maybe in a future video, they'll come back and they'll whoop the French and, you know, I don't know, we'll see.
But such military victories do little to change the outlook for Napoleon's expedition. They remain 1,600 miles from France, with no prospect of reinforcements or getting home. Napoleon briefly puts his hopes on a diplomatic solution. France's foreign minister, the brilliant, urbane and slippery Charles Maurice de Talleyrand, had been an early supporter of the Egyptian expedition. He's assured Napoleon that he will personally travel to Constantinople to smooth relations with the Sultan and win Egypt for France. But Talleyrand never leaves Paris.
Wow,
the Sultan remains
sucks.
furious at France's attack on his Egyptian province. There is to be no negotiation and no compromise. Orders have gone out to every corner of the Ottoman Empire to raise troops to drive out the French invader. Napoleon's position looks more desperate than it's ever been. His troops cut off, disease-ridden, in the midst of a hostile population. He will respond in the way that seems obvious to him, as it would to his hero Alexander.
Fight
He
everyone?
will attack.
Dang.
One of the
I think this is the end of the video, adios, but dang, Napoleon's like, well, we gotta fight our way out of here, guys. Like, oh, that's insane, guys. That is insane. Like, everything was going so smoothly at first, and then it just completely fell apart. It blew up in their face. I think I said everything I needed to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oh, by the way, actually, the scheduling. I'm gonna continue with the rest of, and we're gonna continue with the rest of, forgive me if you hear barking. So, with the rest of this series, from next, at the time of this recording, there isn't another Egypt video. You know, unfortunately, he went backwards with Napoleon's life, kind of covering his later life, and now he's currently covering his modern, like, not modern, early life, but he's already covered his later life. So point is, chronological order is gone from this series. As of right now, there's no more Egypt video, so I will continue with Austerlitz and onwards until Waterloo and the end, you know, of his campaigns. And if he makes more Egypt or early modern, like early Napoleon videos, I'll jump back. You know, we're kind of done with chronological order. We tried, but unfortunately, he's not done with everything in Napoleon's life, and he told it a little out of order. So, yeah, just to let you guys know how things are gonna go. I'm not quitting Napoleon, because I don't want to wait months for him to finish all of Napoleon's early life. Like, that'll take too long, I think. And I'm not patient enough. I just want to watch as much as I can. So I'll see you guys next video. Bye, everyone.